another point is around relationships that we need to form within our ecosystem to fulfill the full engagement that we want with our customers, and particularly around how we work with agencies. And I'm interested to get a feel for what's working, what's not working for you guys in terms of those agency relationships. So, Shalu, any thoughts on how you work with agencies? Do you have multiple agencies that spend their time pillow fighting, or is there some connection and some strategic development together?
We work with a network of agencies, and actually the way that we work with agencies is to really genuinely bring them in as an extension of the team, so that they feel they've got skin in the game. Also, the way that we work with agencies is I don't have an agency that does everything. You know, so when I meet with an agency, I literally get a good feel, a good instinct in terms of what I think they'll be really good at producing, be it content or a journey or a digital initiative, but also just doing the right research. You know, just looking at companies that I admire that have got something right, and just finding out who the agency that they worked with. So really actually actively going out and recruiting best of breed agencies. I think that's really key, because I think 9 out of 10 times, you know, we tend to inherit an agency. So there's two things. One is just making sure that you have partnered, and sometimes with all partnerships you need to decide whether it is going to be fruitful or whether you actually need to sever the ties, because you know it's not going to be what the team need either. The second thing is also bringing in an agency that will actually educate the team, because sometimes, you know, it's really important that as part of the evolution of the marketeer, that you also partner them with people that think differently. And, you know, a lot of the agencies have a very different way of thinking or approaching a particular scenario. And sometimes, you know, as marketeers, we become stale. You know, we get into a comfort zone and we start doing the things that we've always done because actually they're instinctive. And actually, if you know, there was some research done, and 94% of marketeers believe that greater insight, you know, helps them deliver better campaigns. You know, and part of that greater insight is also making sure they've got access to greater insight, which could be an agency. What we tend to do is I tend to have a QBR with our agencies. So it's an opportunity for the agency to feed back to us in terms of just, you know, really that open and honest dialogue in terms of where they see us going. Because 9 out of 10 times an agency will just listen, because they feel that you're the client, that, you know, you sort of like really will pretty much dictate the mandate. And I think in a QBR environment, it gives them an opportunity to say, you know what, if you thought about it maybe in this way. So there's a natural evolution also of campaigns and initiatives. Also, the QBR is a great way for us also to have the honest and open dialogue with agencies as well, in terms of, look, this is the ROI that we're looking at. And again, with very few agencies, we will actually also give them, you know, we will basically compensate them based on results. But again, you know, that's very much based on digital initiatives that we will work on. So again, when you bring in an agency, you know, if you start having the dialogue, which is, look, if we get this result, we'll pay 100% of your of your invoice. I think it makes everyone think smartly, and it changes the game, because actually they end up working harder. They put my team under pressure. We end up working a lot smarter, you know, in a smarter way, and we all start looking at things that we need to look at, which is the data. So going back to the data analytics.
Absolutely. And is there a preference for working with B2B specialist agencies rather than bigger agencies that cover many areas?
Yeah, you know, actually, if we all look at the way that we consume content, we're all consumers, you know. So again, we've changed the way that we've actually gone out and worked with agencies. So I do bring in B2C agencies, because they know how to connect, and they know how to lock in that mind share. So one thing that we've started doing, that we've been doing for about a year now, is, and it goes back to your point, Matt, about content, you know, sort of like creating sound bites from the same piece of content, and repurposing that piece of content. One thing that we've started to do is extract factoids. Because actually, if you give me a fact, a statistic, you're more likely to get me to engage with the next piece of content that I'm about to consume, or you may, you know, it may be a click, or, you know, reading, you know, turning the page or whatever. So we've started to go down the factoid route, and we've seen huge difference in, you know, sort of like ROI in terms of engagement as well, and that we've got through partnering with agencies that actually have got a B2C slant.
Oh, interesting. My favourite stat of all time is that 62.5% of all stats are made up. So
I made that up.
so, Sakina, how about you? Working in a global environment, do you have one agency of record that runs across a particular program for you globally, or is it chop and change by country?
I've tried to have one agency who would do it globally and failed, because there is no agency that has expertise, and they do claim that we are a global company. We do have, satellite offices, and we will deliver even for PR. Like, we have agencies within the countries or sometimes the regions. And I do like that because they bring in the local flavor. So we might have one agency, for example, for PR, we do have an agency that sets out the global strategy, but then we use the local agencies to deliver it locally. I think that format has worked very well for us for the past couple of years. But we do work with quite a few agencies specialized in doing what we want them to do. So we work with content development agency, we do work with the gardeners and the foresters, but when they do that research, we do develop like quite a lot of like bite-sized content from that particular research. So we use different agencies in different countries. For that, we use design agency, but the design agency cannot create content. They are experts at creating design. We are trying to bring in a lot within the company. So now we are hiring designers. We have just recently, 6 months ago, developed a content department that is actually now producing a lot of content in-house. And that's helping us quite a bit. But then that's in America, in the US, in New York. So they're producing American content, which doesn't resonate with Japanese people. So we are still using agencies in Japan. Yep. The idea is that slowly build out like small departments in every region to be able to bring those expertise in-house. And it's cheaper, but besides being cheaper, it's also the expertise, the knowledge is within the business. It's really hard for us to train the agency, and the account manager or the content writer leaves, and then that wealth of knowledge is gone. So, it's easier for us to have that in-house, and I personally believe that in-house model is going to work for Criteo because of the knowledge. We understand our customers much more, and also the turnaround time is faster when it's in-house. So for all of those reasons, and I have the headcounts, so that's one of the biggest reason as well. So we've been able to really benefit from moving a lot of things in-house. Now we manage our paid search campaigns in-house. We used to outsource it. It used to cost us a fortune, and at the same time, we never got really good results. And since we've moved it in-house, we've already started seeing results in the past 3 months. Our SEO strategy is done in-house now. We have I'm building a demand center of excellence, and all the content and all the digital and webinars, all of that is going to sit under that. The leader is not hired yet, but the people have been hired, and they've already started building and churning out a lot of delivered quite a bit, and we've seen quite a lot of improvement in the results and the contribution now that each of those is making to the revenue in the end. So I think that's the way forward. Maybe in the next 3 years we will be all in-house and not outsource anything, but we'll see how it goes.
Fantastic. We're almost at time, so do either of you have any comments on the agency piece?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Firstly, just from over the years, always have an agency laziness avoidance strategy. So it's about quarterly business reviews, having KPIs. If you're engaging with a new agency, give them 3 months. It's always well put us on a 12-month retainer. 3 months, get them to show that they're bought into your business, that they have the requisite skills or creativity or whatever you're using them for. So that's really important because a lot of the times agencies will go off the boil, and if they've got a retainer and you're not engaging with them, they'll kind of go off piste a little bit, which is why marketing leadership has to engage with agencies on a regular basis, whether it's the MD dropping in unexpectedly on an account session just for a campaign, just to check the dynamic, give some creative views, has to be the case. And I think to your point, getting the mix right as well. I think things like certainly design, certainly digital, certainly content has to be led by internal specialists. Using external for economies of scale, whether it's PR agency that gives you obviously kind of media relations scale and those kind of things, or using a specialist PPC agency who really has the clout through working across kind of the ad networks. But you've got to get that balance right, and it depends on the size of the company as well. If you're a company with 100,000, several thousand, working in the UK, working Europe, working globally, you've got to get the mix right. And the localization, I think, to your point as well, is absolutely key. Having a marketing team based in India, there's no way we could support them with the agencies over here. They have to have local specialists, but they can link into the same KPI framework, the same checks and measures, and manage that from an accountability and performance perspective.
I agree with that. I just add two other things. I think firstly, we've just been through a massive exercise to reduce the thousands of vendors that we had down to a very slim group who are working very specific things. But when we went through that process, we used that old-fashioned triangle model. It's like, you want it fast, do you want it cheap, or do you want it good? And one agency cannot do all those three things. And you need some agencies who will just crank it out for you. Right? You just need that and recognise that, to your point about scale. And then sometimes you just need really good quality work that you want to pay for, and it involves a different brain set. And expecting one agency to do all of those things, I think, is unreasonable. So you need to have a roster that allows you to fulfil the different types of work that you know that you're going to want your agency to do. And then I would also say that the challenge with working with some of these big kind of agencies, the opportunity is that you get some really great creativity out of them. You definitely do. But when you start to get into the new technology environment, so for example programmatic, they're very excited about programmatic and they want to sell you loads of work around it. They don't actually necessarily have the expertise, but they're kind of using you as a reason to build the expertise for the agency. And at that point, you're much better off going to somebody small and niche who's loved it for years before the term programmatic was even invented. I'm using that because that's just one that we're looking at the moment. So also it's about thinking about, well, what's the channel, and where it's really, really new technology, I think you're better off going super niche, because actually what you're doing otherwise is fulfilling a recruitment strategy for a large agency.
And we all know how difficult it is to recruit for ourselves, never mind for our agencies.
Exactly.
Wonderful, thank you. Just got a couple of things just want to ask you about. We all learn from our successes, but we learn a lot more from our failures. So if we're feeling it's a comfortable environment, if anyone's willing to share some learnings they've taken from a failure or something that didn't quite succeed, that would be great.
I'll give you one. Luckily, it wasn't related directly to me, but I was
my friend.
I was working in a group. This is one of the other business units, right? This is going back to the late 90s, and I remember, when everyone was still doing direct marketing before we even got into kind of email and those kind of things. And I remember this poor marketing manager was doing this big direct mail campaign, big promotion, it was around some mobile phones, those kind of things, and went through the process and had, I think, about 500,000 mailers printed, and the mailers had 2 spelling mistakes in them, right? And the whole lot had to be binned, which pretty much killed, the campaign. I don't think they ever did another one. And just the thing that I took from that, which I always try and instill in, especially younger folks coming into marketing, is, and the nature of marketing as a whole, and you'll find this in other parts of the organisation, is one, everybody in every other department is a marketing expert, and 2, they will always pick up on mistakes, however small, potentially. Folks like to point that stuff out. So get your attention to detail right, and make sure that's in the fabric of your marketing team, whether it's at a marketing exec admin level, right up to your directors, because attention to detail is all important in what we do, and it's the first thing that people notice if things aren't right.
Absolutely, great example. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else have any examples?
I think that you made a really good point, which is that it has to be okay to fail, right? Because you don't know the answer. You don't. If you knew the answer, then let's plug it into a machine and all stop working, right? There is no answer, so therefore you are going to fail. But let's not fail on the pointless stuff, like the spelling mistake, like the lazy writing, like the email that feels like you're talking to an A-level economics student rather than the CEO of a bank. Like that's the stuff to get right. Yeah. And then it's fine to fail in your strategy. Like, it's fine to test lots of different things and to fail in your approach, as long as you're clear about where you need to end up and you accept that failure is going to happen, and you're not lazy about it, and you don't make basic errors. And then I actually think it's it's sort of okay to fail, and you should. As a marketing leader, I build in the opportunity to fail into my planning. So I say, okay, this is what I commit to the business. I'll take a sales target, fine, whatever, because I'm so committed, and we will get there. And every success that I have, I amplify in order to basically create myself a slush fund to try new things out, which might not work. Yeah. It might mean that I hit my target in Q1. It might mean that I have to make the money back over the year to pay for that failure. But at the end of the day, I've enabled a culture of curiosity, a culture of experimentation, a culture of trying new things. And for me, that's the air cover that I can give my team. And that's what makes it interesting and good to work with my team, because I think that that's okay. But it's not okay to have spelling mistakes anyway.
Just to build on that, I'm a massive risk taker, and as a byproduct of being a risk taker is that you're going to get it wrong sometimes. But I think for me, going back to your point, is I like to create or foster an environment whereby the team can take risks. Because if you don't take risks, you'll never know what truly delivers the compelling result that you're after. Because to get to that point, you're going to have a couple of knockbacks. So for me, it's really critical that you do create an environment whereby the team feels safe about taking a risk, and the team feels safe about the fact that actually you've got them covered if it doesn't go, right. And I think that's what I'd rather have, than rather have, an individual that thinks that they always have to get it right, because that then becomes a forced behaviour.
And that's why it's nice for you if you're going into acquisition mode, right? Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody who doesn't buy something for you is still not going to buy something from you. I mean, that's your opportunity for experimentation, right?
Yeah.
And that's great, and that's exciting for you to be in that mode, because that's where the creativity really steps down.
Yeah, we already failed the test, so I can talk about it a little bit. We tried it earlier in 2016 to actually, we were doing a lot of spray and pray campaigns, trying to generate leads and moving them through the funnel. But we thought, okay, our target market is so niche that way we could potentially, instead of buying lists and all of that doesn't work, we can get a tool that's going to help us build the data. So we got a tool, and we got an intern to actually build that data for us, and we got telemarketers to validate that data. So built in-house 27,000 domains that we could potentially work with in the US, and we decided we'll spend 6 months trying to build a nurture campaign. And we did a great job of making sure that we have like a proper nurture stream in the Salesforce, as well as like the content was proofread and validated by everyone. And we started our campaign. The first email that went out, we had 69% bounce rate, how it bounces. So I was like, oh my God, what happened? Let's stop it right now. Apparently the data that we built wasn't accurate. And we didn't think of doing any type of test. Like, let's take 1,000 and see, like, what's the bounce rate? We were so confident, and there was a big talk about it within the company that, okay, this is what we are testing, and a massive sales and marketing alignment, because it was an idea that came from the sales team. They work with the interns and the tools and everything to build that database, while marketing was doing the content and building that nurture stream. Like, one representative from every department that was relevant was present there, making sure that everything works. And we failed. Like, we had to stop that. For the next 3 months we outsourced it, and we got an agency to build that data again, to validate and append all the data. And then when we restarted the campaign, it worked. But what we tried to do was like take chunks, 20%, 20%, 20%, and then figure out how to best like address that. But that failure taught us so much and brought sales and marketing so much close together. We were like, oh my God, it's our fault. It's not sales' fault, it's not marketing, because we were working on it together.
And your point there is a really good one. See, I think being harsh on yourself, I'd call that an adjustment, not a failure. Right?
Yeah, well.
but and again, the point comes back to from where we started and talking about the use of technology and data, is that it does allow you to adjust on the fly. So not just your A/B testing, but to adjust mid-campaign, because that's what you can do with technology these days, and also considering the channels you're using as well. So I think you take your learnings and you make the adjustment. I think it's not acceptable when you don't have either the input from parts of the organisation or don't have the data or the input to make that adjustment and just carry on as is. So and that's and you know, and as marketeers, we've got to have that level of flexibility because some stuff works, some stuff doesn't.
I used to work for a business where we had an award called the Courageous Penguin Award. So you know the penguins are on the ice cap and they're going to dive in to get their food every morning, and there's always killer whales there, but one of them has to go first. And we awarded people that kind of made that leap of faith, even if they got eaten, even if it failed. So we had an award for somebody that tried something pretty audacious, and obviously if it succeeded, they got other awards, but if it failed, they got awards because of the failure we learned from.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because I was thinking about one of the campaigns that we did. But again, you're communicating to people. So one of the best and worst campaign we ever ran was the same campaign. It's like Marmite. Some people just loved it. We made so much money out of it. Some people violently hated it. And it's like, because at the end of the day, you're communicating with people.
Yeah.
You're not communicating with robots or a homogenous group of people in a sector. So, you know, sometimes your biggest success can also, you could look at that campaign from two very, very different viewpoints.
Yeah, and I would elaborate on my campaign that I termed as failure, but we learned so much and we got it right. Like in 3 months' time, we restarted it, and now it's being done in all the countries, like all bigger countries. So we have that campaign running in the US, UK, France, and Germany. And just last week, we were talking about launching it in Japan and Southeast Asia. So it's going around, but the first learning was like, oh my God. But yeah, we learned so much. We came closer together, and it's become like a pretty viral campaign. Everybody's talking about that nurture campaign that like marketing developed with sales. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we're at times at an end. Thank you all very much. It's been a fascinating conversation for me. I hope we've all taken something out of it. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Quick round of applause. Work for American companies.